In this video, I will discuss Gauss's law of electrostatics. Gauss law states that the electric flux phi coming out of a closed surface is Qn by epsilon naught, where Qn is the total charge present inside the surface and epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. Here we are assuming that the charge and the surface are present in free space. The electric flux coming out of the closed surface is given as integral E dot dA. This integration is over a closed surface and the closed surface is indicated by a small circle on the integral sign. E is the electric field vector and D is the elemental area vector. Let us consider a point charge located at this location. The total flux coming out of a spherical surface of radius r, whose center coincides with the point charge, can be calculated by taking a small elemental area ds and calculating the flux coming out of this small elemental area. So the flux coming out of this small elemental area d phi is E dot ds, and that's equal to E into ds into cos of angle between the two vectors. The electric field vector at this point is radially outward, and the elemental area, the direction of that vector, is outward normal, so it's also radially outward. So the angle between the electric field vector and the elemental area vector is 0. So E dot ds is same as E into ds. To calculate the total flux coming out of this closed surface, we have to integrate this thing over the entire surface. The magnitude of the electric field at any point on the surface is same because all the points on the surface are the same distance r from the point charge, but the directions are different, but the magnitude is same. So the magnitude of the electric field will come out of this integral sign and the integral will reduce to integral ds, which is the total surface area of the spherical surface, which is 4 pi r square. The total flux coming out of this closed surface can be obtained using Gauss's law as the charge present inside by epsilon naught. The charge is present inside the surface is the point charge q. So phi is q by epsilon naught. So from this we get the expression for electric field as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. So here we have got the expression for electric field using Gauss's law at a distance r from a point charge q. Here we have a general closed surface of arbitrary shape, and in general the charge can be a point charge, a line charge, surface charge, or a volume charge. And the charges can also be present outside the surface. So outside also we can have point charge, line charge, surface, or volume charge. To find the electric flux coming out of this closed surface, we have to evaluate this integral E dot dA, and that's equal to Q by epsilon naught by Gauss's law. So this electric field is the net electric field due to the charges which are present inside and outside. So this flux we can split into two components: flux due to the charges which are present inside the surface and flux due to the charges which are present outside. The electric field can be split into two components, E in and E out. E out is the electric field due to the charges which are present outside the surface. It turns out that the electric flux due to the charges which are present outside is 0. We can have some understanding of this by taking this point charge here. The electric field due to this point charge at this point is towards right in this direction, and here it is again towards right, but the elemental area vector at this point is towards right, which is in the same direction of the electric field, but here it is outward normal, which is towards left. So here E dot dA is positive and here E dot dA is negative. So in some sense there is some sort of cancellation. So the total surface can be covered by taking pairs of elements like this. So we can have an understanding why the electric flux due to the charge which is present outside of the closed surface is 0. Gauss law states that the electric flux coming out of closed surface is Q by epsilon naught. So it relates the electric flux to the charges which are present inside. And electric flux is nothing but integral E dot ds. So E is related to phi. So in some sense the electric field is related to the charge is present inside according to Gauss's law. Coulomb's law gives electric field due to a point charge q. This we can get by Coulomb's law and by definition of electric field, which is force on a unit positive charge. So in some sense the information contained in Gauss's law and Coulomb's law are equivalent. Coulomb's law gives electric field due to a point charge as kq by r square into r cap. The point charge q is located at the origin. So the electric field at this location at a distance r is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q into 1 by r square into r cap. The definition of electric field is the force acting on a unit positive charge. So we can get this expression for electric field using Gauss's law. The charge is present at the origin and the Gaussian surface is a spherical surface whose center coincides with the origin. So according to Gauss's law, the flux integral E dot dA is the charge is present inside, that is q by epsilon naught, and the magnitude of the electric field is same at all points on the surface because they are the same distance r from the center, but the direction is radially outward. When the magnitude is uniform, so the magnitude of the electric field will come out with integral sign. So the integral will just become integral dA, which is the total surface area of the spherical surface, which is 4 pi r square. So from this we get the expression for electric field as kq by r square, where k is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. In addition to point charge, we can also have charges which are line charge, surface charge or volume charge. To find the electric field due to arbitrary charge distribution, we can consider a small element of it, infinitesimal element, which is very very small, which acts like a point charge, and Coulomb's law gives electric field due to a point charge, and we can use that and then indicate over the volume to get the electric field due to the entire charge distribution. This is an arbitrary volume charge distribution, and we can consider it as made up of many infinitesimal elements like this. Since this volume is a very small volume, it's an infinitesimal volume, it's equal to a point charge, and Coulomb's law gives electric field due to a point charge, so we can find electric field due to this element using Coulomb's law, and then we can integrate this electric field over the entire volume to get the electric field due to the entire volume charge distribution. And this integration will be simple when the charge distribution has got some symmetry, and this simplification of integration is captured in Gauss law. And while we are applying Gauss's law, we state that phi is q by epsilon naught and phi is integral E dot dA, we have to evaluate this integral, and this evaluation of this integral will be simple under certain circumstances. First one is the angle between the electric field vector and the area vector is either 0 degrees or 90 degrees. E dot dA is E into dA into cos theta. So when the angle between them is 90 degrees, its value is 0, E dot dA is 0, and when both electric field vector and dA vector are in the same direction, the angle between them is 0, and E dot dA is same as E into dA. And the second case where the integration can become simple is when the electric field is uniform over the surface, the Gaussian surface. In that case, the electric field magnitude of it can come out with the integral sign, and the integration will become integral dA cos theta. Let us take one specific example which will be useful in appreciating the usefulness of the Gauss's law. That is to find electric field due to a infinite line charge. So this calculation of electric field can be done using Coulomb's law and integration, or using Gauss law. So this is the infinite line charge which extends to both the sides to infinity. So let's take an arbitrary point P, a general point, and calculate the electric field at this point. To apply Gauss's law, we have to choose a Gaussian surface, and you have to choose an appropriate Gaussian surface which will exploit the usefulness of the Gauss's law. So here the Gaussian surface that is being chosen is a cylinder of length L, and the important thing is the axis of the cylinder should coincide with this line charge. Only when this sort of a Gaussian surface is chosen, the electric field on the surface, curved surface of this Gaussian surface will be radially outward. We should have an understanding of the direction of the electric field for applying Gauss's law. So let us find the direction of electric field at this general point P. To find the direction of electric field at this point P, let's take a pair of elements which are equidistant from this line and calculate the electric field due to this pair of elements. The electric field due to this element will be in this direction, and the electric field due to this element will be in this direction. Both these elements are of same length, so they have the same charge, so the electric field due to the elements will be same. So the vertical component will cancel, the upward component will cancel this downward component, but the radial component will add. So the net electric field due to this pair of elements is radially outward, and this 4 line charge can be covered by taking pair of elements like this. The next pair can be chosen here, one element here and one element here. So by choosing elements like this, we can cover this entire line, and all these pair will have electric field only in the radial direction. So the electric field due to this entire infinite line charge is only in the radial direction, and this is true for any point. The electric field here will also be in the radial direction because P is a general point, and for calculating electric field at this point we have to take elements which are equidistant from this line. So one element here and corresponding element will be here. So this will form a pair, and the electric field due to this pair will have only radial component. So the electric field at any general point is in the radial direction. So the angle between E and dA is 0 degrees on the curved surface and 90 degrees on top and bottom surface. This cylindrical surface has got two surfaces. One is the curved surface and the top and bottom surfaces. So on the curved surface, the direction of electric field and the direction of the area vector, elemental area, which is outward normal, they are in the same direction. So E dot dA is E into dA. But on the top surface, the electric field vector, which is radially outward, is in this direction, but the area vector is outward normal, so it is in this direction. So the angle between these two vectors is 90 degrees. So E dot dA on the top surface is 0 because cos 90 is 0. Similarly, the E dot dA on the bottom surface is also 0 because the direction between electric field vector and area vector is 90 degrees. So using Gauss law, integral E dot dA is q in by epsilon naught. This is by Gauss's law, and this integration is over the entire closed surface. This closed surface we can split into two parts. One is the curved surface and the bottom and top surface. The top and bottom surface will not contribute to this electric flux because E dot dA is 0 on top and bottom surface. So only the contribution will come from the curved surface. So integral E dA, and on the curved surface E dot dA is same as E into dA, as the angle between E and dA are 0. This is equal to q by epsilon naught. And on this curved surface, the magnitude of the electric field is uniform because all the points on this curved surface are the same distance r from this line charge. So the electric field magnitude of it will come out with integral sign. So the integration will reduce to just integral dA, which is the surface area of the curved surface, which is 2 pi r into L. And the charge present in this Gaussian surface is lambda into L by epsilon naught, but lambda is the linear charge density of this charge distribution. The length of the cylinder is L, so the charge which is present inside is lambda into L. So from this you get the expression for electric field as lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught into r. So the electric field goes as 1 by r. It's inversely proportional to the distance r. So as the distance from the line charge increases, the electric field goes down as 1 by r. So here we are calculating the electric field using Gauss's law, and the integration is somewhat a trivial integration, which is integral of dA, which is the surface area of the curved surface. Now using Coulomb's law, we can get the electric field at this general point P. To do that, we have to use Coulomb's law expression for the electric field, which is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, the charge divided by distance square. So again, let's take pair of elements which are equidistant from this line. So one element here and one element here of same size dx. So both the elements are same of charge lambda dx. So the electric field due to this element will be in this direction, and the electric field due to this element will be in this direction. So the total electric field due to these two elements will be in the radial direction. The right component and left component will cancel. So the electric field due to this pair is given as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. The charge, which is lambda dx, divided by the distance square. Distance of the element from this point is this distance that we can get from this triangle. Sin theta is r divided by this distance. From this we get this distance as r by sin theta. So the distance square is r by sin theta square. And this electric field, there is a net electric field in this direction. So only this radial component will add, which is sin theta. So we have to take the component sin theta and multiply by 2 because 1 from each element. So 2 is for the pair. Here the variable of integration is dx, x. We can do a change of variable to theta so that the evaluation of integration becomes simple. So to do that, we have to relate theta and x. That can be done using this triangle. In this triangle, this is the coordinate system. Origin of the x-axis, x equal to 0 is here, and the coordinate of this point is x, and this on the negative side. So this length is minus x, because coordinate is negative. The coordinate of this element is x, which is negative. So to get this distance, we have to do minus x. So tan theta is r by minus x in the triangle. So from this we get x equal to minus r cot theta. Now differentiating both the sides, we get dx equal to r cosecant square theta d theta. Derivative of cot theta is minus cosecant square theta. So that minus will cancel with this minus. So this can be written as r by sin square theta into d theta. So we can do change of variables from x to theta using this expression. So using that thing here, we get dE as 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda d theta by r into sin theta. Now the variable of integration is theta. To cover this entire line charge, we have to travel from this point x equal to minus infinity to x equal to 0. Since we are considering pair of elements, if we cover half this distance, we will cover this entire line charge, because we are calculating this electric field. This electric field is due to the pair of elements. So at this point the value of theta is 0, and here the value of theta is 90 degrees. So the integration limits of theta will be from 0 to pi by 2 of sin theta, which is 1. So we get the expression for electric field as 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda by r, which is same as the expression got using Gauss's law. But in the case of Coulomb's law, the integration is a little bit more complicated. First we have to take the components, we have to do change of variables, and then we have to do the integration. But in the case of Gauss's law, the integration is trivial. You just integrate dA, which is the surface area of a curved surface. So integration is almost eliminated here. This is the advantage of using Gauss's law. So in other words, we can say Gauss law is useful to avoid complicated integration. By using Gauss's law, the integration becomes simple or trivial.